Good morning, students. I hope you all are doing well at your places. And today we'll be studying a very interesting chapter, that is Angelina Loves to Read. Right. So let's just begin with this chapter. And I hope you all are taking good care of health. As winters have already approached, please stay hydrated all the time and don't forget to drink water, because in these winter days children's and especially old people, they usually forget to drink a lot of water. They usually their intake of water, it decreases slowly. Please don't do that because weather is actually harsh and it's very hard outside. Fog and mist is already there, so it causes lung problems. So to cure all these things, please take good care of your health, and of course to your elder ones. And please don't forget to drink water, at least 8 glasses of water each. Let's just begin with this chapter. So the title of our chapter is Angelina Loves to Read, right? So about this chapter, देखिए, Roald Dahl, he is a male, so it's he. He is basically what, a novelist, one who writes novels. Of course, he is a poet, right? He wrote several memorable stories. बहुत ही ज़्यादा memorable जो यादगार stories होती हैं वो लिखते हैं, for both children as well as adults. देखिए, दो दो जनों के बीच में बात हो रही है, and आया हुआ है, right? And in this chapter, the author has told about an extraordinary girl, एक girl जो बहुत ही ज़्यादा ordinary नहीं, extraordinary है. Her name is Angelina. What is her name? His name is Angelina. Her name. She has a great interest in studies. She is actually interested in studies. And she was very sensitive and very brilliant. She was very intelligent, very brilliant student. So let's just read about the story to know about her. के बारे में पढ़ना हम देखते हैं. Now, with her brother at school, her father at work, देखिए, and her mother was busy playing bingo in another town. देखिए, उसके जो ब्रदर हैं वो स्कूल में पढ़ते हैं, राइट? उसके फादर वर्क पे गए हुए हैं और उसकी मॉम जो है, शी इज बिजी इन प्लेइंग बिंगो. बिंगो इज अ गेम इन अनदर टाउन, दूसरे टाउन में, राइट? एंड एंजेला फाउंड हरसेल्फ अलोन इन द हाउस नियरली एवरी वीकडे आफ्टरनून. हर रोज शाम में, वीकडे में, वो हमेशा अकेली होती है आफ्टरनून के टाइम, मीन्स दोपहर के टाइम, राइट? So one afternoon, Angela set out all by herself to walk to the public library in the village. And one afternoon, she decided to visit the library nearby her village. Right now, she introduced herself to the librarian. Librarian ko she has introduced herself. Mrs. Julia Joseph, her name was Mrs. Julia Joseph, asked her if she might sit a while and read a book. She's saying, the librarian is saying that if she likes to sit in a library, she can sit for a while and she can read books, right? So Mrs. Julia Joseph, slightly taken aback at the arrival of such a tiny girl, unaccompanied by a parent, nevertheless told her that she was very welcome. देखिए, actually, Mrs. Joseph, she actually welcomed her in a very good manner because she was seeing the arrival of a tiny girl. इससे पहले उनकी लाइब्रेरी में कभी इतनी छोटी लड़की अपने पेरेंट्स के बिना कभी नहीं आई थी, तो शी एक्चुअली वेलकम्ड हर इन अ वेरी वार्म मैनर. राइट नाउ, वेयर आर द चिल्ड्रंस बुक प्लीज, एंजेला आस्क्ड, कि बच्चों की किताबें किधर हैं. नाउ, would you like me to help you found a nice book with lot of pictures in it? She is saying, that Joseph is saying, may I help you in finding all those books that are beautiful, that are made with beautiful pictures and beautiful stories? She offered. This librarian, she offered. Now, no, thank you, Angelina said. I'm sure I can manage. I can do it by my own. I can easily find out the books on my own. Now, from then on, every afternoon, as soon as her mother left for bingo, every afternoon when her mother, she used to left her town in and went to another town to play bingo, Angelina would toddle down to the library. She used to toddle down means रोजाना वो कहाँ आने लगी, library. When she had read every single children's book in the place, जब उसने बच्चों की किताबें सारी पढ़ ली, she started wandering around in search of something else. Now she started searching something else. Angela had an enormous appetite for reading. Enormous appetite means बहुत बहुत ही बड़ी भूख थी. देखिए, enormous means huge. Very important word. This word actually comes in reading comprehensions. This word, opportunity word, one more word that we have studied in one of the chapters before, wo, an appetite means bhook lagna. Okay, so she has an enormous appetite. Very अच्छा line दे रखी है that she has a very good interest. She has a large interest in reading. Right now you can see this librarian and how she is finding the books, and all other children, they are in library. Right now I am wondering what to read next. I am thinking कि अब मुझे क्या पढ़ना चाहिए. Angelina said, I have finished all the children's book. मैंने बच्चों की सारी किताबें पढ़ ली हैं. You mean you have looked at the pictures? Asked Mrs. Joseph. Mrs. Joseph ने कहा कि आपने सारी बुक्स में सारी पिक्चर्स देख ली हैं. Yes, I have read the books as well. Apart from seeing the pictures, I have already read all the books too. Right, I thought some very poor, और मुझे बहुत कुछ बुक्स बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी नहीं लगी. Angelina continued, but others were lovely. But कुछ किताबें ऐसी थी, कुछ बहुत अच्छी थी. I like the secret garden best of all. She said, The secret garden मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगी. देखिए, and this is the superlative degree of adjective. Angelina said, I would like a really good book that grown-ups read. मुझे ऐसी book चाहिए जो adults पढ़ते हैं. A very famous one. A book which is very renowned. Mrs. Julia looked along the shelf, taking her time. उसने अपना time लिया. How, she asked herself, does one choose famous grown-up book for a 4-year girl? She's saying that how can I take a book from the adult section because the girl, she is only and only 4-year old. Try this, she said at last. At last she said कि at least just try this book. At last आप इसको try कर सकते हैं. If it is not too long, अगर ये ज़्यादा बड़ी नहीं है for you, just let me know and I'll find something short and a bit easier for you. She's saying, Mrs. Joseph is saying, if you find this book too long, then I'll be very happy and very convenient for you to find out a book which is thoda chota, that is shorter and bit easier. This is the comparative degree of adjectives. Right now, Great Expectations. Angelina read by Charles Dickens. I would love to try it. उन्होंने एक book offer करी जिसका नाम क्या है? Great Expectations, and this book was written by Charles Dickens, and she just tried. She is loving to try that book. Now, Mrs. Julia Joseph said, of course, you may try it. आप इसको try कर सकती हैं. Over the next few afternoons, अब ऐसे कुछ afternoons बीतने लगे. Mrs. Julia could hardly take her eyes off from the small girl sitting for hours in the armchair and at the far of the room with a book on her lap. You see, जो मिसेस जोसेफ हैं, शी लाइक वो अपनी नजरें नहीं हटा पा रही थी this girl, say a very tiny and a small girl, that is 4-year girl who has a lot of interest in reading. She used to sit for hours on an armchair, means जिसके ऊपर हम अपना एक बाजू रख के बैठते हैं बहुत देर तक एक बुक को रीड करते रहना लाइब्रेरी में बैठ के. She could hardly take her eyes off from her. देखिए, take off her eyes off. This is a phrase, and this off is preposition. Now, Mrs. Julia Joseph always felt sad. उसको बहुत ज़्यादा बुरा लगता था when the time came for her to cross the floor and say it's 10 to 5, Angelina. और जब क्या हो जाता था, she felt, this Joseph, she used to felt very sad because when it's 5 o'clock in the evening, then library, this is the time to get close. Now she used to say in a very sad tone, ki, Angelina, it's already 5. You have to leave to your place. Now, Mrs. Julia Joseph learned that Angelina's mother, she has no knowledge of her whereabouts. Actually, Joseph think this librarian thought that her mother, that is this little Angelina's mother, she was not at all aware of her talent that her daughter holds. Her whereabouts means जो उतनी उसकी खूबियां थी उसकी mother, she was not aware, right? But that's surely not right. I think you would better ask her before coming to the library, said Mrs. Julia Joseph. Mrs. Julia Joseph is saying, I should not think wrong about her mother. First, I should consult her mother and ask her कि she is coming to library, is it this thing is in your knowledge or not? Now, I rather not, Angelina said. Angelina said, no, she does not encourage reading books, nor does my father. Neither my father nor my mother, they encourages my reading. But what do they expect you to do afternoon in empty house? कि what they expect? उनको क्या लगता है कि when there is an empty house, then what you do in their empty house? Sit around and watch the telly. They think that I am just sitting around and just watching the television. I see. Within a 1 week, Angelina has finished the Great Expectations. उसने वो वाली किताब को भी खत्म कर दिया. Contained 412 11 pages. That is 411 pages were there in this Charles Dickens, that is Great Expectation book. And I loved it. She said to Mrs. Joseph that I really loved it. Over the next 6 months, under Mrs. Joseph, watchful and compassionate eye, Angelina has read almost all the books. देखिए 6 महीने में एंजेला ने एटलीस्ट बहुत सारी किताबें पढ़ ली, बहुत ही फेमस राइटर्स के, जैसे कि चार्ल्स डिकन, थॉमस हार्डी, जेन ऑस्टिन, रुडयार्ड किपलिंग, H.G. Wells, and many others. See, this Rudyard Kipling and Jane Austen, they are very very famous authors, right? And many others, और बहुत सारी books उसने पढ़ ली. By now, Mrs. Joseph was filled with wonder and excitement. How talented this 4 year girl she is. Mr. Hemingway in his book says a lot of things I don't understand. She is saying that Mrs. Hemingway एक author है, Mr. Hemingway एक author है, जिनके shelves में जितनी book है, I am not able to understand कि वो क्या बोलते हैं. And Angelina said to her, but I loved it all. At the same time, मुझे इनकी books बहुत पसंद आई हैं. Then the way he tells it, I feel that I'm right there on the spot watching it all happen. He said that Mr. Hemingway really narrated their stories in his book in so well manner that he feels like that this Angelina feels like कि जैसे कि हम उस जगह पे उसी वक्त मौजूद हैं, वो इस तरीके से सारी बुक्स में अपनी स्टोरीज को डिपिक्ट करते हैं. Now, a fine writer always makes you feel that, Mrs. Joseph said. कि एक जो अच्छा राइटर होता है वो हमेशा ये फील कराता है कि आप उसी जगह पे हैं. And don't worry about the bits you don't understand. Don't worry for those bits that you didn't understood. Sit back and allow the words to just wash around you like music, and I will. She's saying to Miss Angelina that you just sit down, stay calm, and just think once again that I'll understand all those words. Then you will definitely got all these words, right? Did you know, Mrs. Joseph said, a public library like this one only allows you to borrow books and take them home. She is also saying that that Angelina, do you know that these public libraries also allow books to take home for some time? When you have chosen the books you want, bring it to me. I can make a note of it, and it's of you for 2 years. You can take more than if you wishes. Now it's been 6 months. She has been so familiar to Julia that Joseph Julia said, if you like any of the books in the shelves, you just take it out. Let me know that you like it. I'll make a note of it, and you can take it to your home for 2 weeks or even more than that, because she has a complete faith over Angelina. From then now, Angelina would visit the library only once in a week in order to take out the new book, right? And then return the old ones. कि उसने एक हफ्ते में एक बार लाइब्रेरी आया करती थी, एक बुक लिया करती थी, पढ़ा करती थी, and similarly the cycle goes on. And her small bedroom now becomes her reading book. And how she just transferred, she just you can say उसने अपने bedroom को reading room बना लिया. Now the books transported her into new worlds, नए नए world में गए, and introduce her to the amazing people who lived exciting, जिनको बहुत ही ज़्यादा, who lived exciting lives, जिन्होंने बहुत अच्छी जी हैं. She traveled all around the world, sitting in a little room in an English village. In that English village, actually, she got familiar with so many books that she involved reading because she has an enormous appetite for reading. तो उसने उस किताबों से बहुत सारे लोगों के बारे में जान लिया. I hope you all understood this. And from this chapter, you must take a lesson that you should also involve indulge in a habit, in a reading habit, because reading will definitely make your personality enhance, and it can easily help you to solve all the reading comprehensions that you came across. So stay blessed and keep smiling. Thank you.